You'll never feel the way I feel. You don't know if my love is real. Baby, listen to me, here's the deal. When you're not here, I'm not the same. I'm needing a new chapter, babe. Been stuck here in a bed for days. I've been staring at the telephone, cause when you're gone, I miss your face. Late o'clock, body talk. There's no need to bring it up. Nothing you say makes it better. Wrecking ball, tear apart. Issues left behind, restart. Nothing you say makes it better. Bring it right back to me, baby. No, we've been here before. Give me the real this time, no cap, no lies. It's our encore. Bring it right back to me, baby. I know my heart wants more. Give me the good this time, no cap, no lies. It's our encore. I never wanna give you up. I know we've been through way too much, but I'm confident we'll make it through. I'm here for you, you're not by yourself. Late o'clock, body talk. There's no need to bring it up. Nothing you say makes it better. Wrecking ball, tear apart. Issues left behind, restart. Nothing you say makes it better. Bring it right back to me, baby. No, we've been here before. Give me the real this time, no cap, no lies. It's our encore. Bring it right back to me, baby. I know my heart wants more. Give me the good this time, no cap, no lies. It's our encore.
Are we lost? Are we not? Are we real? Are we turning to dust? Do you feel what I feel? Have we changed so damn much? Can we heal? You're not saying a word. Oh, it feels so unreal. We lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. With us, nothing moves forward. It just stays the same. Think you know the answer, but you're playing
Welcome to the only show bringing cops and the community together for some real talk and some real listening. This is uncut. This is uncensored. This is Black and Blue Live. Hey, Black and Blue fam, what is going on? It's your boy Dale here, like it says right there on the banner. Hey, I appreciate everybody for joining me for this show, this very special show that we will talk about today because it is Women's History Month, and we're going to talk to some amazing women. But hey, first, let me thank everybody for joining us here on the platforms that we are live on right now. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So everybody like the show, subscribe to the shows, to the platforms there, and hey, share this with everybody that needs to see this right now because we got some good content. So like us on all those platforms and share with all your friends and family. How's everyone's weekend? How did everyone's weekend go? I had a great weekend, just a lot of honeydews and stuff like that around the house and running errands. But I am back now, out here with some great people, with some great content that we're going to get to today. Like I said, it is Women's History Month, and we've got some great women to talk about their careers in law enforcement. This is a law enforcement-based show, but a lot of the lessons that people talk about, my guests here talk about, are applicable to whatever walk of life you're in, whether it's in medicine, music, education, what have you. So, hey, without further ado, hey, let's get to it. All right, so my first guest here, she is an assistant sheriff in Northern California. Like I said, I am down here in Southern California, but she is an assistant sheriff with the San Francisco County Sheriff's Department up there in Northern California. Everyone, please help us welcome to the show Assistant Sheriff Tanzania Carter. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm glad you came on because we got a great topic and some great insight from all of you on the panel today. But tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do and where you do it.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Dale, for inviting me to this wonderful platform. Thank God for Women's History Month that we get a voice. My name is Tanzania Carter. I am the assistant sheriff in San Francisco. I've been doing law enforcement now for over 26 years. I started out as a deputy sheriff in San Francisco way back in 1996. And I stayed there for 3 years and decided I wanted to be an outside cat. So I went over to the Bay Area Rapid Transit BART Police Department, where I really did most of my time for 20 years. There at BART, I started as an officer and kind of promoted up the ranks. I was a field training officer, then became a field training sergeant, patrol sergeant, lieutenant, then a zone commander where I was over one county that had 2 different sections. If you know anything about the Bay Area, I was over the Richmond area and the Pittsburgh area. I stayed there. I was about to retire and got tapped to come over here to San Francisco as the assistant sheriff. As the assistant sheriff, I've been here 2 years and running, and I'm having an amazing job learning and growing in San Francisco.
All right. It sounds like you've had a storied career, and we will definitely get into that. And hey, I appreciate you, everything you've done and for your service up there in the Bay Area. All right. Our next guest is recently retired as the police chief for the Los Angeles School Police Department. Everyone, please help us welcome to the show Chief Leslie Ramirez. How you doing, Chief?
Good. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. How's your day shaping out?
It's going well. We're trying to beat the rain here in actual SoCal, but it's a beautiful day today.
Yes, it is. All right. So I told everyone that you were recently retired. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you did, and how long you did it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Leslie Ramirez, and I did serve as chief of police for the Los Angeles School Police Department. I am so grateful and honored that I had an over 31-year career in law enforcement for an agency that focuses on campus policing. My passion, and couldn't be more humbled for that time with them. And honestly, as serving as chief of police for the last 2 years before my recent retirement this past June in 2022. So I am really honored here. I'm excited to be here today with my co-panelist. I'm looking forward to this conversation on women in law enforcement, whether it's regionally in California, because we have both Southern and Northern represented here today, as well as Florida as we move through the panel, but really nationally. I'm looking at the fact that there are so many similarities in what women are experiencing as they start their careers, as they work through their careers in law enforcement. And moreover, I hope that we can talk a little bit about the outstanding contributions that women are making to this profession, and really look at, the work that lies ahead. So thank you for having me, Dale. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Appreciate you. All right, everybody. Our next guest here was retired. She is retired, and she retired as one of the assistant chiefs at the California Highway Patrol. We all know that, better known as the Chips, right? Dun, 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 dun. But we'll let her tell you all about that. Everyone, please help us welcome to the show, Assistant Chief Johnny Reddick.
Yes, thank you so much, and I love that because I grew up on Chips, the show.
Yes,
So,
you and me both.
yeah, yeah.
All right, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, and just like everyone else, just really excited to be here and be able to have a platform to talk about some of the things we're going to talk about today. So I'm excited. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you did and where you did it.
absolutely. I retired after 29 years with the California Highway Patrol. I retired in December of 2017, so it's been 5 years that I've been retired. I worked all across the state of California. My career ended when I retired up in Sacramento area. So that entire region, which covers, 8 or 10 commands, you know, for us, commands are anywhere from 22 people to over 100 people can be in a command. We have over 100 of those throughout the state of California. So I enjoyed my career. And then when I retired, I was like, what do I want to do with myself? Do I want to go be on an island and have a little drink with an umbrella in it?
Yes, please.
No. So I'm in my second season. And in my second season, I am a professor at the University of San Diego for the law enforcement and public safety leadership for the master's degree. And I also am a professor at the local community college for administration of justice for folks coming in on the entry for policing through our regional post academy. So those are the things that I do now after my long career. And we're going to talk more about that. But just like the other two panelists, just super excited to be able to share some of our lived experiences to be able to help other women be able to navigate their journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sounds like you had a great and storied career as well. So we'll talk about that and your second act of your career of your life as well. So yeah, we'll get into that. Absolutely. Appreciate you. And last but certainly not least, she is a lieutenant with the Walton County, Florida Police Department. Everyone, please help us welcome to the show, Lieutenant Kalika Wheatley.
Hello, thank you.
How you doing, LT?
I'm doing really well, thank you. Can't complain.
All right. Because nobody listens anyway when you complain. So, right.
Yes.
All right. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do and where you do it.
Yes, I'm Kalika Wheatley. I'm a lieutenant with the Walton County Sheriff's Office located in the Panhandle of Florida. I'm currently assigned to being our mental health and wellness coordinator for all of our staff. It's an internal program that focuses on the well-being of our people. I started my career in Southern California, and then by way of the military, we PCS'd out here to Florida, kicking and screaming. Here we are. But at this time, my career is the infancy of everyone else's. I'm at my 14th year in law enforcement. Started my career as a patrol officer, and then started moving into additional assignments, moving into a school college district for a little while, and then got myself into the sheriff's office and did investigations and research and development. And now we're here in mental health.
All right. And we definitely need that in the law enforcement space nowadays. And so I'm glad that some agencies are taking the lead and actually implementing programs for that.
Yes, same as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So there's our panel, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to it. All right. So like I said, this is Women's History Month, and we've got some police leaders right now that are talking about that. Before we get started here, hey, let's bring up a couple comments that have already come in. We've got Alita Jackson Boyd says, "Hi, Tans." I guess Assistant Sheriff Carter probably knows who that is. And then we've got Sherry Johnson says, "Welcome and thank each of you for your contributions to the profession." All right, we'd love to hear that. All right, so you know, on the heels of that, let's talk about your respective agencies that you work and used to work for. What attracted you to the specific agencies that you went to? Was it the size? Was it the job? Was it the location? Let's talk about that real quick before we move on. We'll start with you, Lieutenant Weekly, and we'll move from right to left.
Yes. So what attracted me to my agency was being a new parent, a new mother. I had a 3-month-old at the time, and I'm transferring from California to Florida. I had to learn how to navigate getting into the field, back into the field here. Aside from being a new mother with an infant. And when I went to the agency, I told them, really, I don't have a whole lot of money to invest in this process for me to become a certified law enforcement officer for Florida. And they checked my resume, they checked my references. And what I found is they invested in me. They realized that, man, she probably is a good candidate. We should go ahead and invest this in her. And they paid for my equivalency of training course and certification from California to Florida, all on taking that whim. So what I felt is that they found value in me, and that's what I wanted, was an agency to find value in me from the beginning and not later on down the line. They invested me from the front. So that I can't be more than grateful for.
Absolutely. Yep. Sounds like a great place to be then, and they're investing in wellness and all that. Sounds like a really progressive agency.
Yes.
Yep. Assistant Chief Reddick.
I'm just, that is awesome. That's all I can say. And you would hope that law enforcement agencies are hearing this, and this is what they are doing in order to recruit, because I think that's one of the questions that we're going to talk about a little bit.
Yes.
For me, I was 20 and a half. I was a typist clerk for the county. I had very little college education. I basically had a high school diploma. And I happened to be reading a newspaper, yes, a real newspaper, and I was looking at the comics, okay? I wasn't looking for anything else because I had a job. But the ad had an ad for the California Highway Patrol, and it said it would pay me $40,000. I was going to have health benefits. I was going to have a retirement. And I, too, like you, Dale, was raised by a single mother, off and on welfare, didn't have a lot of security. So even though I had a county job, the idea of having a state job and it paid me more and the benefits were better is what really appealed to me. And so it wasn't anything necessarily about the agency per se, because I had nobody in law enforcement in my family. Nobody recruited me, nothing like that. In fact, people didn't think I could even do it and thought I was crazy. But I was like, man, I'm going to get paid that much money, but I'm also going to get something that has a retirement. And, then it was 75%, I think, at 30. And I was like, okay, I don't know how far that is. It sounds like forever, but I was like, that's kind of cool. But really, I was going to get to go to the dentist because we didn't have consistent medical and dental. So for me, it wasn't necessarily anything specific other than it appealed to what I needed, what I needed to survive, be able to take care of myself. And the better question that hopefully we'll talk about is, how does an agency keep you? How do they keep you for 29 or plus years versus people leaving and going to other agencies like they are now?
Yep, absolutely. Great question. Great question. Chief Ramirez, what attracted you to your department?
Yeah. Similar to what's already been said, but going into law enforcement for me was not pre-planned. When I was in college and just starting my studies, I was working as an aide, and really my passion, my area of interest, if you will, was to, serve, students. I wanted to be in an educational environment. But I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up in LA Unified, and I was familiar with my agency prior to making the decision to go into the career field. So I thought, okay, well, what better than to combine the two? and to have my passion to want to be in an educational setting, to work with students, and then also look at, is law enforcement, the right career field for me? And I'll tell you, I struggled a little bit with, is it the right career field? Can I do this? Do I have what it takes? I too did not have a family background or any history in law enforcement. But what LA Unified and what LA School Police did for me, much like Kalika said, is they took me under their wing. And I started with a training type program that was aimed at helping me get ready for this career, at the physical fitness, at getting ready for the academy, and all the other things that you have to learn and study and be familiar with. And the more that I really got into it, the more I realized that I had more of an interest than I initially thought. And then also, I realized that, I had the ability to do this job if I really put my mind to it. And so I continued down the path, obviously got picked up and went through the academy. And from there on, was grateful because it ended up having, a 31 plus year career. And in the end, ended up being their chief of police, which is something I would have never imagined, when I first, decided to submit my application and wondering if I could even do the job in the first place. But like Johnny said as well, I'm wondering and I hope that we are looking at those that are right where I was, looking at can they do this job? Is this the right fit? Is it something that's going to give them career long stability? Are we looking at those that have that initial interest and investing in them from the beginning and really pouring into them so that we're not missing out on qualified people?
Yep. Agree 100%. And Assistant Sheriff Carter.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I got into law enforcement after college. I received a degree in criminal justice from Cal State Hayward. If any of you are out here, you understand it's always going to be Cal State Hayward. And then I went to become a mentor and a coach over at the YMCA by the Fremont High School. My mom knew how I was so much interested in being in law enforcement. And as I was muddling along, being young and naive, it was my mother who actually gave me the application. Like Johnny, it was a real application. It was a paper application. It wasn't online. I filled it out. I filled out so many others. And when the Sheriff's Department, San Francisco, picked me up, I really felt like I was home. At the time, back in '96, there were so many people who wanted to get in law enforcement, who wanted to help people. And you could really feel the energy in the room when you were taking those tests. And once I got into the San Francisco Sheriff's Office, it was like a family. The people that I worked with, because you're inside of a jail setting for 8 hours a day. And so you get to know people. You get to know their families. And for me, that was golden. I'm really about team play, and being a part of the Sheriff's Department was definitely a team. And then when I moved over to BART, it was, of course, local. It was close to home. I was able to be outside. I was able to touch more people and talk to more people. And the way I feel like I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, I'm a psychologist, a mom, I'm so many different things. And with the BART Police Department, I was able to touch on those aspects. They really got me by saying they had a youth program. Discovered later that was not true, but I wanted to be a part of that, where they help youth. And being a Sunday school teacher, it really clicked for me that that's what I wanted to do. So I navigated over to BART, had a great career there, and then was able to come back and fulfill this kind of responsibility here.
All right. So sounds like that you got a lot done over there. BART's a really interesting agency, a Bay Area rapid transit, right? So
Yes.
yeah, really specialized agency. Just as much as LA School Police, a specialized agency. What sort of stuff did you do over at BART?
So I was a hostage negotiator, and people would think, really? Being a rapid transit, but BART is the same as Oakland Police Department or San Francisco Police. So I was a hostage negotiator. I was part of the investigations unit. I was the chaplain coordinator, and I did all of these ancillary duties along as promoting up. And so people may think, oh, I need to go to a very large agency, but just like you said earlier, there are so many different agencies out there, and all you have to do is find the right fit. Where is your passion? And is that department, does it have the same passion that you do? And where can you grow from that? And so BART was really a place where I could grow. The sheriff's department was great, but it was in one spot in the jail. At BART, I was able to really broaden myself and open myself up to more possibilities.
Absolutely. Before we move on here real quick, let me get a comment here on screen. And this one is from MRSLTJB. Says, what a dynamic panel of women in law enforcement. Thank you all for your commitment to the communities you serve.
Thank you.
Yes. So along the lines of that, this is a male-dominated profession that, I am a male, and I do know that, as well as all of you out there know that as well. What was that experience like for you as women coming into this male-dominated profession? Were there many women in your respective departments? Has that sort of changed over the years? How's that experience been like for any of you? Anybody can jump in there.
I can say for me, like especially back at BART, I was trying to remember all the women that may have been supervisors, and there weren't many. I have to say, in those days, it was really more of the good old boy network. Who did you know? Whose house did you go over? I heard a lot about people had barbecues that I wasn't involved in or wasn't invited to. And so that had something to do with not seeing or knowing the possibility. So from my experience, I didn't see that. I didn't know it at the time that that was not how it was supposed to be. It wasn't until I met a group of people from Noble, which is the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and they really opened my eyes that there was possibility for me being not only a woman, but a possibility for me being Black. And I did not really see that back in the day. But now I can say it depends on the leaders that you have in place who will push more equitable, representation across the board to have more women voices, more people of color. But back in my day, I don't really believe I saw that, but I didn't know better. And now that I know better, I'm always looking to see, is there representation? Is there someone that looks like me, whether it's a person of color or a woman? Because as we talk a little bit about the recruitment, people are looking at that. Women are looking to say, if you don't have that in your command staff, why should I come aboard? What is it? What do you have for me here?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
I have to
Anybody else?
agree with that. That we should have known better, but we really didn't. I came in the early 90s. So there's been a lot of change since that time, and yet there's still work to be done. Numbers and representation of women at that time were very low. And in comparison now, they still are relatively low considering, where we should be and probably where we need to be. But we're making progress. When I came on in the 90s, the perceptions of women in law enforcement really marginalized how women were viewed, and the things that women could accomplish, at that time, in their careers. And, for some examples that I'll give you, my lived experiences is, when I first came on, it was very rare to have women on all shifts, of your department. It was even rare to see women on night shifts or what we call D-watch or graveyard shifts. And certainly at that time, women were never scheduled to work a two-man unit or two-person unit, I should say, together. It was just something that we never did because we had never traveled down that road before. It was very difficult to really break some of those barriers. And again, these were just things that were entrenched, in the way that we saw and viewed law enforcement at the time. And so these things limited, or in our minds, limited the things that women believed and the things that women believed they could achieve and they could do in their career fields. So I'm really happy to say that a lot of these things do not exist today. We've made great progress, but they did exist. And they are my lived experiences back when I first started. I'm glad to see that women are rising, to positions, of leadership, and they are really doing some outstanding work. The more that we see that, the more we're going to attract more women, into this profession. And we need to tap into those skills, those abilities of the women amongst our own ranks. There are women out there that can do amazing things and have amazing abilities to lead. But if they don't see themselves in the position, they don't always, are ambitious enough to rise, to those levels. So they're watching, women like us on this panel, just like I did. I was very, very fortunate. During the time when I come on in the 90s, there were very few women that were in leadership positions, much less, in law enforcement in and of itself. But I was fortunate because there was one chief of police at that time that I knew that was in my immediate realm, Sharon Papa, and she was just an inspiration to me to see her, leading during a time when we didn't have, the face of women in leadership positions. Really, I saw her, the way that she conducted herself, the way that she was a leader, her professionalism and her poise in a career field that was very, very dominated by men at the time, especially as in the chief position. And with her, watching her, it really inspired me to say, we can do this. I can see myself in that role. If she can do it, I can do it. If I can do it, any other woman that really puts their mind to it and has the ability to lead can do it.
Awesome. Yeah, love to hear that. My agency is actually going through a transition as well, where we appointed a female interim chief. So if you're watching Chief Tolber, congratulations. And we're really excited for that as well. And it's great to see people of color and females and any marginalized community up there in leadership. So, if you can see it as yourself, maybe like someone said earlier, if you see that position in leadership yourself, maybe you'd want to join that organization as well. So yeah, absolutely. Did you have something to say there, Chief Reddick?
I do.
I know you.
I do on this topic. I am retired, so I will filter myself, but it was hard. I came on in '88 through an academy where, yes, women had only been on the CHP since '74, so it was still very new for women to be in our organization, and they didn't make it easy. Constantly told to go home and bake cookies with your mama. This ain't a fashion show, baby doll, everything you could think of in the academy through, the field training program where you're harassed, you are overlooked, you are not acknowledged unless you're always making a mistake. The first few years, you're trying to figure it out because nobody's really guiding you or mentoring you or offering you anything to help you. Men don't want to ride with you. They just flat out will not ride with you in a patrol car. In fact, they'll get up and leave and go home if you get assigned to ride with them. And the supervisor would never say a word, never skip a beat, and keep handing out assignments. So sometimes us women would ride 3 to a car. Their spouses didn't want us riding with their husbands or even working shifts with them. So you had to deal with that nonsense as well. So, it was tough. You were called names and you were supposed to just suck it up, buttercup, and keep on going. And I would have to say I probably developed a bad attitude because I had to toughen up in order to just survive in the agency. You're thinking about how do you survive when you go meet the public. You had to deal with the stuff that went on inside the agency. Yeah. And, sometimes you would look around and you just couldn't believe it. And you get a tough skin, you get a sense of humor, but at some point you had to get a voice. And it's been said a few times already in our conversation about having this voice and understanding where you fit and how it's okay for you to be a strong woman, for you to be able to be a woman that can wear your heels off duty and wear your combat boots on duty. And I had strong women, strong Black women that showed me how it was okay for me to be who I needed to be so that I could be comfortable. So I didn't have to have, anxiety every time I would step in a room and not be certain about myself. But I do want to say, male allies were there. Some of them were hesitant to step forward because maybe they didn't want to get into it just yet. It was too soon. They weren't sure how we were feeling about women. And then there were those that came along and weren't harassing you, didn't want something from you. They really wanted to plant seeds for where you might want to go in the organization and how you can do that. I mean, it's nice for somebody to say, you can do it, but having people to actually show you how to get there and show you how to do it, there were those that were there. And I appreciated that. But I will tell you, it was not easy. It was tough. And there are women that have worse stories than I could ever share, but it was not easy. And I am glad, just like, Leslie said, that we've come a long way, but I still hear these microaggressions, these things that are happening to women to hold them down and hold them back. And I can't believe it because we're in 2023.
Yeah, because we're in 2023. Now, don't shoot the messenger. Let me play devil's advocate here. So some of the things that you said, obviously, once you're on the job, past probation, all that sort of stuff, obviously that's out of bounds. But when you were talking about in the academy, things that were said to you, they're kind of aren't trying to prepare you for this is law enforcement, right? For what the public's going to say.
For me to go
you
home
out
and
there.
bake cookies with my mama?
Was that anything, something
Why would you assume that? Why would you assume that I bake cookies? My mother didn't bake.
No, well, absolutely
Okay?
not that.
I mean, these are the nice things I'm saying that they would
Okay.
say, but it was very gender specific. Just harassment. We had to learn how to change a tire. We came a week early before men to the academy. The men arrived a week after us. For us women that were there, we learned how to change tires. We learned how to toughen up. We learned how to get ready for our male cadets that were going to join us. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah. Yep.
No.
Absolutely. Yep. Lieutenant Wheatley.
Sorry, I'm going to calm down.
No, that's all. That's all right. I'm feeling the heat. I'm glad I have my fan on.
I'm trying to stoke the fire here. Stoke the fire. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes, I started in 2008, and my perspective was a little bit different, but still we weren't completely out of the woods yet of having females in law enforcement. And I was the first Black female law enforcement officer at my agency since the 70s when I first started in. So that was unique in and of itself. What I struggled with, and it was very quick for me to recognize that the stories that people would tell me are all about the things they deemed women did wrong in the field. So it was right away, well, don't say that she don't do what she did. Don't act like she did. Well, tell me about your leaders. Tell me about what the great things that these women are doing in your agency. So I had to be very intentional on seeking out the women who were leaders, who were those informal leaders at the agency, because they were going to be the ones to help support me and go along, get me on my feet. The allies, 100%, Johnny, those male allies were the ones who probably impacted me the most, because they were telling me, hey, I know this is what you heard, this is what you think, but you are doing the right thing. I had those reinforcements. And then now I'm able to, at an agency where we're sitting at 20% of our staff is female. This is fantastic. Yeah. And we're having more women that are coming into leadership positions, but a lot of it is the representation and seeing that women of color are able to promote up in the organization. And it's not on the backs or the heels of others. It's just from strict hard work, knowledge, and willing to say, I don't know something, teach me. And allow me to learn, allow me to make those mistakes, and I'd be able to fail forward so I can go back and let people know, hey, we can be successful. These are the failures that I had, but I really learned from all of these. Let's come into this together. So from 08 until now, I'm thrilled at the progression that we've seen. Of course, we have a lot of work to do, but at this point, we're doing really well. I'm proud of them.
Absolutely. And
Dale,
Johnny,
can I
when you
jump in
talk,
just a second?
yeah, go ahead.
So just going back to the academies again, especially since I'm in this role that I'm in right now, and I see how our folks are going to the academy. The academy, even right now, is old school. It's like the people who run the academies are old school folks, old school, mostly men who are running the academies, even going as far as community policing. We need that in the academies as well. And so talking about this conversation and Johnny being fired up, I get it. And we need to have more people, as we talk about just putting in the recruitment part of it, having our recruits have a voice, letting them know if they see anything in these academies that are that shouldn't be there, that they should talk to the training, the training unit of their department so that we can handle it, because that should not be tolerated on any level. It should not have been tolerated then. But the reason why we all got into law enforcement or leadership in law enforcement is to make a difference so that people won't have those same experiences that Johnny is talking about, that they have a voice, that they should be empowered. No one should go to the academy to get talked about and stripped of who they are just because they're a woman or a person of color. And this is the day, the 21st century policing, where we give people voice and empower them to say, this is wrong. And now I'm getting fired up, but it's true. As leaders, we have to identify those things that we can control and then really give voice to that so we can go in there and make a difference. Like in my department right now, we're trying to get more women, and the things that we're discussing is having a women's boot camp, getting people prepared for the academy. And we have a pre-physical agility test that we invite people to, because we understand that there are things that they will physically have to go through to make it. Not that they're weaker than, it's just identifying challenges. And it may not even just be women. It could be smaller frame men, So we want to make sure that we don't say women are less than because they're women. We're just different, and finding a way to strengthen that difference so that they can get through the academy. But anyone out there, I do want to encourage you, if you're going through the academy even right now and you feel like you do not have a voice, reach out to your training units if you are feeling like you are being discriminated against or harassed, because in this day and age, that cannot be tolerated, and you should have, and you do have a voice.
And you do have a voice. Yep. Reach out. And we have come a long way. We've got a long way to go. This reminds me, bringing up this picture here, how women used to be. Yes. Skirts and purses, had the guns in the purses. We've come a long way, but there's still a lot of chauvinistic attitudes in our profession. So you have to get that out there. So Assistant Sheriff Carter, you were talking about, some of the physical things that some women and even men have to prepare for. This reminds me of, there was a situation a couple of years ago with the Sheriff's Department out here in L.A. where 2 deputies were shot, and one of the female deputies was praised for how she stood up in that position. She took care of her partner, and she covered down and all that sort of stuff. So women are built for this profession. Men and women can be discriminated against. Men and women could be not built for this profession. So we are human. We got people that don't need to be in this profession. We've seen a lot of that lately, right? With a lot of uses of force. And, that's one of the traits that stereotypically they say about women in law enforcement, that I don't know if you would say if that's true or not, that women have lower uses of force than men. What would you say to that?
Well, actually, I'm a part of this group called the 30 by 30 Initiative, and that is an organization or just a movement really to get more women in law enforcement. This group, my sheriff's office is a part of the 30 by 30 Initiative. And what they have found is that through statistics, women do, and it's just a compliment, men and women in a generalization, more women on your organization or your agencies will bring down uses of force. Why is that? Because women have a way of speaking to other people. This is general, we use this more than this, okay? We know that people are maybe taller and physically stronger, so we may wanna talk it out while our backup is coming. We may want to use these other tactics like a baton or OC spray, because maybe one-on-one, we know we can't take that person. And so what the statistics have found is that if our departments are up to 30% in female representation, they have found that that uses of force do go down, because it's just a way that we deal with situations that are different. And that is the data that they have found.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, as a male with over 25 years in this profession, I don't want to fight nobody either. So I've always, I've got low uses of force throughout my career, because I've been one to be able to talk somebody into handcuffs as opposed to, going hands on right away. I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but for the most part, you don't have to. And, a lot of times we see nowadays people are quick to, go right into, using a gun for whatever reason. So, yeah.
Well,
And I think we just naturally have. Oh, I'm sorry, Chief.
Oh, it's okay. I was
yeah,
I
just
was
real
just going
quick,
to
I was just
back
going
on
to
the
say what
30
Sheriff Carter's
initiative.
talking about. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sister Chief. Ready? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with the 30 by 30 initiative that Sheriff Carter just talked about, it puts women and women's issues and policing for women at the forefront, because that initiative is driven by NAWLE, the National Association of Women Law Enforcement Executives, and all the agencies that have signed on to, participate. But it puts women's issues at the forefront because they provide evidence-based research on, gender role biases, all the different aspects that affect women in policing that we talk about, but it's now evidence-based. It's supported by research. It is then needs to be followed up with actual action by agencies. So by signing that initiative, it says, hey, we are going to strive for 30% by 2030. But to me, I'm like, well, what are you implementing to actually achieve 30% by 2030? How are you looking at your HR processes, your talent management, your succession pipeline, the change in your organizational culture? How are you auditing and looking at policies and procedures that might be less than inclusive? What are your actual action steps just because you've signed on to this initiative? And what we're finding in a lot of body of research is emotional intelligence plays a huge role in what you are talking about, which is de-escalation. And we're just beginning to embark on de-escalation type training in law enforcement academies, for post academies for us in California. And the majority of the nation have some form of post academy, but there's several agencies that don't have universal standardized training policies. But this emotional intelligence helps us to be able to regulate our own emotions, and then that response to it, which will help de-escalate when we have these incidents.
Absolutely. And I was just going to also add that, during the time that I was chief for the school police department, I fully supported 3030 initiative. A lot of the research, a lot of the work, as Johnny said, is there. So agencies, if they're not familiar with it, they would do themselves a great favor to really take a look at it. If they're interested in raising the number of women that would potentially come onto their departments, and how do they make their departments attractive to women so that they select their agencies. I'm thrilled to say that, even in the wake of, recruitment struggles that all agencies are facing right now due to current culture and climate, at school police department, we were seeing an increase, and we continue to see an increase in the number of women that are coming onto the department. So that's a great win. What we did is exactly some of the things we talked about. We've all seen the recruitment flyers and videos that really, really are heavy on the tactical side, and all the bells and whistles, of what the department looks like. This was something that for ages we saw. You see these, the vest and the weapons and all the tactical side of it, which is great. And let me be real, it is a part of the job, that we have to really keep in our mind. But we need to advertise so much more than that. And we're starting to do that. We're starting to look at the community engagement piece of that, the other aspects of the job that are just as important. And that's more attractive to a wider range, of individuals that are potentially looking at careers in law enforcement. For the school police department, we also looked at how do we bring awareness and really focus more on not only the de-escalation piece and how we really drive that forward and center our efforts around that, but mental health awareness. How do we deal with individuals that are in mental mental health crisis. We also really expanded about 4 or 5 years ago, looking at multidisciplinary approaches. In other words, how do we partner with other entities and other, agencies that, governmental agencies that are there to support us, our licensed clinical social workers, our deans and all the other resources that we have, especially in school settings. How do we establish those strong partnerships so that when we're going into situations, it's not always going to become, a physical confrontation. We have to look outside the box and think about how we can do our jobs better. And again, women do have a sense of really being able to expand upon that and taking different approaches. And I want to be very clear about this. We are not in competition, with our male partners. There is no competition. I appreciate all of the men and women that work in law enforcement. It is not an easy job. No matter what your gender, no matter, what your background, the job is just as difficult for everyone. But there are certain other areas where women and officers with diverse backgrounds, have a little bit more of a challenge to overcome. I'm very fortunate and I'm very honored that I had a lot of male, like Johnny said, male colleagues, male allies that supported me and mentored me along the way. And without them, I would not have been able to rise through the ranks and especially, take on a chief's position. So I'm very fortunate and I'm very grateful for all of those that poured into me, whether it was, women, as I mentioned, or men along the way. But again, I'm really, really thrilled to see the number of women continuing to slightly increase. I wish it was faster. I wish it was more. I wish we could really just, see those numbers increase, faster than we can even, blink our eye. But it's going to take work. But I believe we're moving in the right direction with some of the things, that we're starting to change. So when someone's looking at, is this the career for me, like I was, they can see more of themselves in this career.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. And Johnny, what you had mentioned, I'm thrilled that you mentioned emotional intelligence and how that plays that role into de-escalation, because we've started more of our training in de-escalation techniques. And what we've found is that we're bringing in our own lived experiences. If we didn't have that self-awareness of who we were and bringing our lived experiences into situations, we're not recognizing that we have someone else, the people we're dealing with, our community, they have their own lived experiences, and we're all meeting in the middle trying to solve a problem. So utilizing those de-escalation techniques that we're getting trained in more often now than the brute force, use of force issues we had before, look at where we can be. And women just tend to have more of that emotional intelligence and training and willingness to learn those techniques and utilize them before we start moving on to our weapons. Because yes, we're coming into situations where someone may be larger than us, stronger than us. So if we know where that playing field is, we can level it out by other techniques that we're able to utilize. So I'm thrilled we're getting on board with our de-escalation skills and our emotional intelligence.
Yep. Absolutely. And we've been talking about, recruitment of females into the profession, but we also mentioned earlier, how do we, I think it was Chief Reddick that said, keeping those women into the profession. How do we go about that? I know we've been talking about mentorship. I'm sure that's a large piece of that puzzle. How do we keep anybody, but specifically women, since we're talking about that, in our agencies? How do we do that?
I feel that we've lost several of our good law enforcement officers after they've had children. And that big struggle is we feel we can either be a mother or we can be a law enforcement officer. Why can't those live together? Well, now that times are changing, we're in a space where we need to target a 2-parent working household. How can those schedules be accommodating to that? Why is it always dependent on a female of getting the child to and from daycare or childcare? Or if you don't have family, you're really struggling, because in law enforcement, we may not trust everyone to watch our kids. So how are we able to make that work for us? So we lose a lot of them right after they have children, because the work environment is not conducive to that. So allowing time for women to pump when they're at work, if they do choose to breastfeed, or if they do choose to bottle feed their babies, allow that time for that to happen. Of course, it's mandated federally, but really be intentional on allowing them to do it and take care of that. Knowing that the other partner that's in their home, what are those schedules? How can we accommodate those schedules to where it's not just the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.? How many daycares are going to be open at 5 o'clock in the morning when you have to go at 6 o'clock in the morning back into work? There's not many. So making those adjustments would be very beneficial to them. There's really small changes that we're able to make. It's just not, it hasn't been the norm. Unfortunately, we're suckers of our own tradition. We stay in line with, well, that's not that's what we've always done.
That's what we've
But it's
always
not
done.
so effective now. Times are changing. Two people are working. We've got to take care of it's a community, it's a family. And if that's how we want to bring people in, as we're an organization that treats you like family, actually treat the family like family.
That part.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. When I think about retention, and I think about retention, because right now law enforcement is in basically this vacuum of bodies. There is no, everybody has lost staffing. Everybody's trying to figure out this formula to be able to bring in the numbers into their organization, not just numbers for, women. And when you think about, well, what does your agency offer? Well, we offer you law enforcement, this job to be able to go out and protect and serve. You can, work in these different assignments, maybe. But what else are you offering your, recruit, somebody that might be interested? How are you appealing to them, and how are you skilling them up for the workforce that they might get into or other assignments that they might be looking to? What does your leadership development look like? What does that succession look like in an organization? I don't want to come in and just know I'm going to be just an officer. There are that just want to be officers, but some people want to know, hey, how else can I move within the organization? We talked about the flexibility in shifts, but what other kind of flexibility does your agency provide? Because we're working in the 21st century and people are finding opportunities outside of law enforcement where they can feel valued, they can have meaningful work, they can have job satisfaction, and where they can feel like their bosses aren't butt heads to them all the time. Okay. And I'm saying this is what the research says. I'm just, breaking it down into simplest terms on why people leave agencies. And when you look at women, we are similar. We want those same things. Yes, we have some special needs for accommodating children and childcare, and maybe if we're lactating or pregnant or those things, but we want the same things that everybody else wants, but we don't have the same access. We don't have the same equity to it. And what are you doing in your organization to create that? Then I want to come on board. Then I'm interested.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I can also speak for the fact that I am a mom, and I also, balanced a long-standing career in law enforcement. So I understand the challenges that come along with that. We're fortunate with the school police department being a specialized agency, although we were a 24/7 organization. It was, basically a large percentage of the organization centered around, school hours. So that's a big, and it's very attractive, for women in law enforcement, especially those that are trying to strike that balance between, family and career. Having a compressed work schedule, having a pretty much Monday through Friday schedule for the most part, and being able to juggle that a little bit better, like she said, with you have, limitations on daycare, and some people don't have, that family support, that can find daycare at, 5 in the morning, or, when you have to work a shift, that goes over your, regular work hours. I certainly was in that case. And so you have to be understanding of that is a real struggle for women in law enforcement. And, they really want to find a way to balance both. So we have to start thinking a little bit outside the box. Being a parent, being a mom, should not be something that is frowned upon. When you're trying to, have a career in law enforcement, it should be embraced to the extent that we can. We did look at how do we expand our lactation services or abilities, to really support moms that are coming back to work. I know in the 90s when I had my first son, I was pregnant. I spent almost 7 months, when they found out I was pregnant, shredding papers, in the basement area somewhere, because I guess that was the only way they felt I can contribute, at that time. We've got to get out of that mentality.
Yep.
There are so many more things that, women can continue to contribute, to the workforce, during the times that they are, pregnant or, waiting to have their children. They're still very much important to our organization and can contribute in so many ways. And so I'm glad that we've gotten away from that, what I went through, back in the 90s. But again, we still need to look at how can we continue to expand, support women as they're balancing. It's not easy. I've been there, and I understand the struggles. We're fortunate more than most, because I understand, when you have a 24/7 organization and, the shifts that come with that and the things, the unexpected nature of this career, all the things that come with that. But again, when we can and how we can, we need to be supportive of the women, because it is, absolutely a struggle to balance, family and balance a career, with the type of profession that, we've chosen to be in.
Yep. Yep.
And Dale,
Absolutely.
can I just say, balanced representation matters, right? Balanced. When women look in the glass window and they're looking at our agencies to see where are the women, what do they have the women doing? I hear a lot, especially in the sheriff's office, women are always in the jail. Women want to do other things than just be in the jails, in the women's jail. We are to be valued and supported and to understand that there are other aspects of the job that we can do and do very well. And so that balanced representation matters. Even in the street and other agencies, where are the women at? Are they in command assignments, or are they just officers? Have we ever heard people say, I would have chosen so-and-so, but she's planning on having a child, so I don't want to put her in my unit because I want, someone who's going to be around. And so we deem the person because they want to be a mother or have a family, but we never think about the male part of it. They're having a family, they're starting, to have children, but they're able to stay. So they get promoted while possibly the woman, because she wants to have a family, will have to stay where she's at because no one wants to have her leave to, lactate. And that's the beauty of having these conversations and the 30 by 30 is because it puts it in your face on what have we done in the past and what can we correct as we go forward. Even the lactation rooms, what do they look like? A lot of people are using the broom closet. I mean, you need electricity, you need a refrigerator, it needs to be clean. And yet we are putting our women in a place where they are pumping for their children that looks like a broom closet. And so we say that we care and that they're valued, and yet show them these other aspects. It's just lip service. And so we as leaders have to put our money where our mouth is. We need to clean up the rooms. We need to make sure that they feel supported in so many aspects. And I just have to say, for the mentorship part, I didn't even know, because I had a baby back in the day, my daughter, and I just thought I'll just be a mom. Like, I'll have this job and just be a mom and I'll be fine. But it wasn't until someone came along a little later and planted a seed and said, you can be a mother and you can absolutely promote up the ranks. They saw a diamond in the rough and they were willing to take a chance because they saw the qualities that I had inside. And so what we need to do is do the same thing with other women. We need to take the women by the hand, and we didn't talk about this yet. Stop being catty and take the women by the hand and really just pour into them like someone poured into us. It is our responsibility, and it's something that we should want to do. Each one teach one. We didn't know, I didn't know until that was put in my face that I can do both. And we just need to plant the seed for other women.
Yep, absolutely. So speaking more about the challenges that each of you had to deal with, excuse me about that, that you had to deal with during your career. I know Chief Reddick spoke about some of the things that she had to endure. Did any of you have to do anything, say like always respond to the female rape calls, or always had to respond to the female dealing with this issue, where male officers, we're all officers, right? Why can't the males do that as well? Did you ever find yourselves being pigeonholed, and how did you get out of that rut?
Well, I'll
Nobody
speak.
did.
I absolutely did. Early on in my career, when I was in a field position, like I said, the very low representation of women in the field was problem number one. The fact that there
Yeah.
weren't a lot of female officers, in to start with, meant that every call that went out that needed a female search, doesn't matter, it could be clear across town. You were called, to do the female search or the female
Hmm.
transport or the female, whatever it is that came along with that. And then going into, anything that related to, sexual assaults or anything that related to, domestic issues that, where a female was needed, for that portion of the call. Yes, you were absolutely spread thin, on those, in those areas. And so that was just something that at the time, I didn't even at that time think that there was anything wrong with it, believe it or not. It was just the way we did business. I saw it as being just as normal and as, natural and the way we did business as anybody else. It wasn't until years later, and I'm looking back and I'm thinking, why is it, that was the case back then? Of course, now thankfully, we have more women, in law enforcement. We usually have more women in the field, but yet I still see sometimes where we have, women being called to what we look at as, female, calls, and again, I see both sides of it. Let me just say this in all fairness. I see both sides in order to kind of not have male officers really, expose themselves to things that, could potentially lead to complaints or what have you, and having the female officer there to support them. But again, we should all be able to do all aspects of the job. So when it's convenient, when it's reasonable, when it serves, the officers in the department well, I don't see a problem with it in and of itself. But to really go above and beyond and extend yourself to where a female officer is being called from call to call to call, a 40-minute ETA or something, of that nature, which is completely unreasonable, or held over after a watch because, something comes out late into the shift, those are the times when we need to look at our male officers as also being able to perform these duties and not really always having to farm this off to a female officer. Again, I do believe we're there to support one another. And so to the extent that we can, we need to be there. But again, we need to look at when is it reasonable? When is it unreasonable? And when is it that we can train our entire staff or our entire uh, group of officers to be able to perform any task that they may be confronted with in the field?
Yep. 100%. 100%. Anybody else want to jump in there before we move along?
I didn't have too
I
many
just want
struggles
to,
with that, but I will say what we really need to do in focusing on training is that we are empowering our male officers to be able to handle those calls for service. Because I feel that's where we kind of we struggled with that with them. They would call women because they were trained to call women because they're empathetic and because they have similar body parts to the people they're handling. So that comes just from their training. If we just do better in empowering them to, no, you can relate, you can do this very well, you can communicate with women well during sensitive topics, where it starts to even out the playing field in regards to the calls that we might have to go to just because of fear.
Yeah. Yep. And I
I
will
think what's
say
helpful in
that
the
Dell, I
area
was,
is
let me just say real quick. I will say that it kind of lends to diversification or specialization in some fields of, if you're working with your teammates and if there's a traffic collision, there's some officers that would rather not handle a traffic collision, even though we can all do them. And there's an officer, if there's a traffic collision, call him because he likes to do or she likes to do traffic collisions. So same thing can happen for, say sexual assaults and things of that nature as well. It just seems like it tends to be the female officers that are called to that, and then they get the expertise because they're always called to that.
Yeah. I think technology has been our friend in this area and helping us evolve. The onset of audio and, body worn cameras and things like that have really helped, in the sense to really capture these, contacts, if you will. And whereas back in, the 90s, and we didn't have this, available to us, and at least not as readily. So again, these were layers that we put in place to protect, ourselves in situations, make sure we're doing the best we can. But technology has helped us in some ways, and I think this is one of them.
Absolutely. Assistant Sheriff Carter, you had something you want to jump in with?
oh no, I was just chuckling when the chief was talking about the searches because even when I became a sergeant, I thought I'm done with it. I moved on, and because I was the only woman on the, in the whole department at the time that I was working, I would get called to go do searches of the office, officers' people. And I'm like, I thought I was done with this. But I do understand the reason, was because of the complaints and things like that. So I got it. But what you said was the caveat reasonable. Like, how far out do you want me to go to do this search? And let's just use the body worn camera. That's in the policy too. Turn the body worn camera on and go ahead and do that search. But it's just funny that you mentioned that, because as I promoted up, I was still doing searches, and you just, because I was the woman.
Yeah.
At the time.
Hey, even the public thinks that as well. If it's a male going to search a female, I found, a female will say, hey, you're supposed to have a female officer to search me. That's not necessarily true. It's better to do that. But if one's not available, or, if it's not reasonable, then, any officer can search any person that we need to search. So, yeah, that even gets out to the public as well. So we were talking about, this profession isn't a nice profession. Sometimes you gotta get put into dangerous situations. What did each of your families think about you pursuing this career in law enforcement, and what can you tell people thinking about women thinking about getting into this profession today? Anybody? What did the family think about that?
I came from a single family household as well. I was raised by my mom, and she was fine with the sheriff's office because in her mind it was inside of a jail, so it wasn't me jumping over gates and running and gunning. So she was perfectly okay with that. Even with BART, she was fine, because to her it was either BART police or the Oakland Police Department, and she really didn't want that. In her mind, she thought it was the lesser of two evils. And so my family has been very supportive of this journey. I don't know of any really law enforcement, folks in my family, and they're very proud because they know who I was. Who I am really, as a person of integrity. I really feel like they needed it because of all the different things that they have seen in the news, all the bad, horrendous things that have happened and the people that have died. I feel like I had to be that voice, and in this profession, even the folks, some folks on here are from my church. I had to stand up and really talk when Tyree Nichols was murdered, because it was just so hard for me being Black and a woman, but me being Black. And so for us as leaders, it is so wonderful that we are in this profession to really be able to talk to our community about all these different issues. But my family, they come to me with questions, and I am always open to all of them to try to answer their questions, to give them empowerment when I also feel that they were wronged. And it's been working out, but it would not have been the same story if I told my mother I was going to be Oakland Police Department. That would have been a fight.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else?
I was very fortunate that my parents and my immediate family were supportive of my choice to go into law enforcement. I think they were just happy that I was finally going to have a steady job, but they were very supportive of me going into it, going through the academy, and all the things that came with that. So I never really had any really feedback there or anything that really caused me concern. As I moved through the years in law enforcement, obviously I have extended family who have difference of opinions regarding law enforcement and police officers, especially most recently in the last few years. It's tough. I do a really good job of separating myself in both from family and it's almost like politics. There's never a good political conversation at a family table because people are going to have different views. And although I try to be respectful, I'm an advocate for law enforcement. I know that the majority of people that do the job, do it for the right reasons and, do the very best they can. And they have a passion and a heart to serve. And so, again, I don't really go or support anything that, shows the negative side of that. And I'm not willing to engage in those type of conversations. But I do think that people don't do the right things need to be held accountable. That just goes without saying. It's sad that they wear the uniform that really reflects on others. But again, those are difficult conversations to have, so I try to really do my best to separate those conversations and really just enjoy my family, rather than entertain those, when we're at family events. But for the most part, very supportive of my decision.
Great to hear
Yeah.
that.
I think that's wonderful, Leslie, that you had such support to be able to do that. And so mine is kind of a in between. My mother, I don't think she really understood the magnitude of what I'd be doing. She just believed that anything I wanted to do, I could do. Raising me as a single mother, but she also struggled with her own addictions. She was a registered nurse for over 30 years, but we were on and off welfare. I lived with family. We traveled. We were very transient from state to state, depending on where family was and could support us, to coming back to California, that my family became people that stood in the gap for my mother. And those that stood in the gap for my mother as I was coming up as a young person, when I decided to go into law enforcement, they were supportive, but they were scared for me because they didn't know what that would mean. And then I had folks that just simply said, your job at the county as the typist clerk, it'll still be here for you when you need to come back. And one of the things that I remember is I did come back to that county building, to that county job, every time I was in town in Bakersfield to visit. And every promotion, I would stop by and say hello to those that didn't believe I could make it and those that supported me that I could make it, because those were my family in the gap. Because again, very dysfunctional kind of, family, childhood experience. But you also asked, what would I say to women who are interested in coming into the profession today? And what I would say to them is, it is still very noble, it is still very honorable, but you have to really assess your readiness for this type of work. Yes, there's an expectation that the employer should provide things for you. The organizational culture should be a good fit and should be ready for you. But in all honesty, we're not where we need to be in every organization in law enforcement yet. So you need to assess your own readiness. You need to determine what skill sets you need to bring in. You need to still have a tough skin, but you need to find mentors, coaches, and sponsors to help you to be successful. And then you have to also shed some of those limiting behaviors that you have about yourself. And I know for me, and I think some of us have said it a couple of times, I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like maybe I could do the job because nobody told me I could. I limited who I could really be. But you need to bring your life experience, your lived experience, your academic brilliance, because most women are more educated than they have been in the past. You need to bring all of that. And, the sky's the limit. I think that was the conference theme for NALI last year, is the sky is the limit. And it truly is today, and it can be.
Absolutely. And not every agency is Walton County Sheriff's Office. So.
No, not at all. We've worked very hard to get there. We've had really great leadership the past several terms with our sheriff. But I'm probably similar to all of you as well. Single parent household. So it was my mother who raised me, and she did the best that she absolutely could. But I am an emancipated minor, so I did go through that experience, and I have a really wonderful chosen family. And my chosen family has been completely behind me 100%. And I do have a biological grandmother who, even though anything she sees on TV, anything that happens in the state of Florida, was that you, baby? Are you okay? It doesn't matter where it is. She is so proud of me. And she's thankful that I am in this field. But I don't think I've really had any family, I would say, that wouldn't be supportive. But I also don't think I really conformed and had any concern of what other people had to say, especially being in that position of being an emancipated minor. You really had to step out on your own and be your own person without approval from other people, because it was your life that was on the line, not theirs. So my life had been very intentional in making those choices and those moves without others' approvals. If I got it, great. If not, they didn't pay my bills.
Wow. Wow.
I
Congratulations
love
to you
that.
to making
I
it. Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
love that.
Sure it wasn't
You
easy
know,
for you,
Dale, I
but you
will
made
say
it.
that, Dale, I will say, as, moving through the organization over the years, when you start, you don't really have a family, your immediate family, like your own children and your spouse. But I will say that moving through the organization, I was reflecting on what my children felt about that. So I have a 30-year-old and I have a 26-year-old. And I think I mentioned off camera, I have a grandson and another one on the way. And they never once mentioned to me that they were afraid for me. They would always talk about how freaking awesome their mom was. I mean,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
being little kids
Mom's a
to being the
badass.
adults they
Yeah.
are now, So, just like Leah said, it's how we go and Leslie, we talk about this experience of being women in policing. We're not victims, man. We are warrior women handling business. So,
All right. And on that note, wow, loved it. Love to hear all that. I love this conversation, ladies. This was pretty robust, and I loved it. Even the heat that we had there in the beginning was fire right there. That was fire. But like I mentioned in the briefing there, we are not done here. So let me get you set up here of what we are going to do. And this here is Family Game Night. Yes, Family Game Night. We had the Oscars just last night. So we're going to play a game talking about the Oscars. And the Oscar goes to Female Academy Award winners. I hope you guys are up on your pop culture and movies and all that. We're going to talk about any Female Academy Award winners throughout the years. I'm going to keep score here, and the one with the most points here will be the winner. And any questions there? So I'm going to show some choices. So let me get through all the choices. Your name will be your buzzer. And if you can pick that out, you will get the point. So your name will be your buzzer. All right. So here's your first question. Oscar winner number 1. This actress won the Academy Award in 1990 for her portrayal of an obsessed fan who holds a famous author hostage instead of getting him help for his serious injuries. Is it Julia Roberts, Kathy Bates, Angelica
Bates.
Houston,
Yes,
or
Kathy Bates.
Joni Woodward?
Khali-
Your name is your buzzer.
Kalika.
Your name is your buzzer. Kalika.
Kalika.
Go ahead. Who is it?
John,
Kalika, go ahead.
Kathy Bates.
It is Kathy Bates. Yes.
Misery.
Yes, Yep. For her portrayal as Annie Wilkes in Misery. So we'll give you the point there. Kalika. All right. So just like that, your name is your buzzer. All right. Here we go. Oscar winner number 2. This actress got her start on a music reality TV show, but showed her talent far beyond music. In 2006, she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Is it Cate Blanchett, Adriana Barraza, Marissa Tomei, or Jennifer Hudson?
Leslie,
Kalika.
Leslie.
Jennifer Hudson.
It is Jennifer Hudson, yes. Her portrayal is Effie White in Dreamgirls. That was a great movie. All right, so point for you. All right. Let's get on the board here. Here we go. Oscar winner number 3. This actress was the first Latina to win the Academy Award. Is it Rosie Perez, Cameron Diaz, Rita Moreno, or Jennifer Lopez?
Tanzania.
Kalika.
I think that was Sheriff Carter. Who was that?
Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, that is incorrect.
Kalika.
Kalika, go ahead.
Rita Moreno.
It is Rita Moreno, yes. Way back in 1961 for her portrayal of Anita in West Side Story. All right. Great movie there, if you like musicals. All right, here we go. Oscar winner number 4. This iconic actress's acceptance speech at the 1985 Academy Awards coined the often quoted line, "You like me, you really like me." Is it Sally Field, Jessica Lange, Sissy Spacek, or Vanessa Redgrave?
Tanzania.
Tanzania, go ahead.
Sally Field.
It is Sally Field, yes. That was for her portrayal as Edna Spaulding in Places in the Heart. All right, got you on the board. All right, let's go, Chief Reddick. Get on this board here. I know you know some of these. Come on. Come on. Oscar winner number 5. This actress won Best Supporting Actress award for her character's ability to see dead people, just like Haley Joel Osment did in The Sixth Sense. Is it Annette Bening, Angelina Jolie, Whoopi Goldberg,
Leslie.
Jessica Tandy? Who was that?
Leslie. It's Whoopi Goldberg.
It is Whoopi Goldberg, yes. In Ghost, she played Oda Mae Brown in Ghost. Another great movie. She saw dead people. Remember, she channeled, what's his name? This, number 6, this actress. This actress has a distinction of having the most Academy Award nominations. Is it Katharine Hepburn, Jane Fonda, Meryl Streep, or Glenn Close?
Kalika.
Leslie.
Kalika, go ahead.
I'll go with Glenn Close.
Glenn Close is incorrect.
Oh,
Leslie.
Leslie.
Meryl Streep.
It is Meryl Streep, yes.
good.
21 nominations. She has 17 for Best Actress and 4 for Best Supporting Actress, and she's won 3 times. All right. So let's see, 2. Yep, we'll get you the point there. So we've got Tanzania with 1, Leslie with 3, Kalika with 2, and Johnny, come on, we got to get you on the board here. Yeah, I know you can get this. I know you can get one. Come on. Here we go. Number 7, this actress was the first African American to ever win an Academy Award. Is it Pam Grier, Diana Ross, Loretta Devine, or Hattie McDaniel?
Tanzania? Hattie McDowell? Daniel?
It is Hattie McDowell, yes.
Good job.
In 1939 for her portrayal as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. Yep. Way back in 1939. All right. A few more here for you. This woman is the first woman to win the Academy Award for Best Director. Best Director. Is it Penny Marshall for Big, Mary Herron for American Psycho, Jane Campion for The Piano, or Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker?
Tanzania?
Kalik.
And Tanzania, go ahead.
Penny Marshall.
That is incorrect.
Kalika.
Kalika, go ahead.
I think Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt
It
Locker.
was Catherine Bigelow, yes. And that movie also won Best Picture as well in 2010. All right. To your point there. All right. And number 9, this actress has been diagnosed with dyslexia, but she hasn't allowed that to stop her, as she has been nominated for 3 Academy Awards, winning once. Is it Octavia Spencer, Laura Dern, Taraji P. Henson, or Penelope Cruz? Anybody there?
Kalika.
Kalika.
I'll take a stab at it. Octavia Spencer.
Oh, wow. What a stab it was. Yes. Yes, it was Octavia Spencer, and she won the Oscar in 2011 for her portrayal as Minnie Jackson in The Help. That's a great movie. All right, how about number 10? This actress won the Academy Award for her portrayal of a nanny with the ability to fly around with an umbrella in this classic live-action animated musical. Is it Sophia Loren, Betty Davis, Natalie Wood, or Julie Andrews?
Leslie.
Leslie.
Is it Julie Andrews?
It is Julie Andrews, yes. Get your point there. In 1964, she played Mary Poppins in the film of the same name, Mary Poppins. All right. Only a few more. We can get you on the board here. Come on, Johnny. Get you on the board. This actress caused a media frenzy when she showed up to the Oscars podium for her acceptance speech in an extraordinarily revealing dress. Was it Michelle Pfeiffer, Cher, Melanie Griffith, or Winona Ryder?
Tanzania?
Tanzania, go ahead.
Cher.
Yes, that was Cher.
Good job.
Yeah. And let's put this, yeah, see that was extraordinary. But that's Cher. All right. We got you your point there. A couple more here for you. This actress won an Academy Award for her portrayal as a rookie FBI agent that helps track down a serial killer. Is it Was it Jodie Foster, Gina Davis,
Leslie,
Helen Hunt, or Nicole Kidman? Leslie, go ahead.
Jodie Foster.
Yeah, we all know that one, Jodie Foster. Yep. And Silence of the Lambs, and her Mel Copart also won an Academy Award for that as well. To your point. And one last one here. We got this actress is the only African American actress to ever win an Academy Award for Best Lead Actress. Is it Cicely Tyson, Regina King, Alfre Woodard, or Halle Berry?
Tanzania,
Tanzania?
Halle Berry.
Yes, that was Halle Berry.
Good job.
Yep. And 2001 for Monsters Ball. We'll get you your point here. So we got 4 for Tanzania. We got 5 for Leslie. We got 4 for Kalika. And Johnny, we got you 0 here. But how about we do this? Tiebreaker. This will be worth 6 points. This will be worth 6 points. So you still got a chance here. 6 points, a tiebreaker. All right, here we go. Several actresses have won more than one Academy Award for Best Lead Actress. How many actresses have done this more than one time? So the closest guess without going over will be the winner. I'll get you one at a time. Tanzania, how many actresses have done this?
3.
3. Okay. Leslie.
5.
5. Johnny.
4.
4. Okay. And Kalika.
Goodness. I'll go with 4 as well.
4 as well. And the winner is 14
Oh!
have done this. 14 have done this, yes.
Wow.
Yes, Katharine Hepburn has done it 4 times. We got Frances McDermott and all those, and a few have done it 2 times. So we've got a winner here, and it is Chief Ramirez. All right, I'm glad you guys are good sports on that. Yeah, some of us know our pop culture there, for the most part. All right. So again, I appreciate each of you coming on. Before I get you out of here, how about some words of wisdom for our guest? We'll start with you, Sister Sheriff Carter.
Yeah, I just wanted to leave with this quote from Shirley Chisholm. It says, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. That's where I'm at right now. And I want to encourage all the women out there, find your place. Even if you look and say, there's no room for me, there's absolutely room for you. You bring the room, you bring the folding chair, and you make a place for yourself. Your voice matters. It is needed. The community wants to hear the voice, and we've already said all the different beautiful, extraordinary things that you bring to the table. We need you in law enforcement. No matter where you end up, I would love for you in my department, but wherever you are, your voice is needed right now, right at this moment. So bring that folding chair, bring your passion and your commitment, and just know that you are valued and supported in this space right now.
All right, all right. Chief Ramirez.
Wow, I don't have a quote, but I do want to say to women that are considering or even beginning either careers in law enforcement that the sky is the limit. I am proof of that. So many other women that have, rose in the ranks of law enforcement are proof of that. Although the road is tough, be certain the road is tough. It will not be easy, but push through it. We need you. Our communities are calling for change. They want to see differences in law enforcement, and you bring that change oh so gracefully. So go for it. Don't give up. You're going to do all great things. And I am so proud, and I have to say this, of all of the women and the men and just everyone that makes up the Los Angeles School Police Department. I'm so glad that I've had a great career, with that organization. But again, go for it. Don't be turned away. Hard road, but lots of reward.
Absolutely, lots of reward there. Assistant Chief Reddick.
Yeah, so already beautiful things have been said. And so what I'd like to leave with is for women that are working in policing today, for you to have some self-compassion for yourself. We are burning out. We are dealing with anxiety and depression, feeling overburdened, overwhelmed, and we need to give ourselves some grace. You need to allow yourself to make mistakes, to be less than perfect, because perfection does not exist. I strived for it for many years. It did nothing but make me ill. So be compassionate with yourself the same way that you are those compassionate leaders for your people. Take care of yourself, set some boundaries that are healthy, and then stay inspired. Because when you start getting midway or a little past in your careers, that burnout sets in and we lose our inspiration. So stay inspired, because as you stay inspired, you are inspiring others.
Love it. Love it. And Lieutenant Wheatley.
Yes, just as Johnny said, give yourself some grace. There's a place for anyone in this field. There's a place for women in this field. Just find where that spot is. I have a spot for you. This is all not a one size fits all type of profession, and it can play to so many different fortes of your own. So discover who you are, continue to evolve who you are, and really, if you choose to get into this field, you've got the free tickets to the best show on earth, and you've got a front row seat to it. Get involved, make changes in your community, bridge those gaps in your community, and see what you're capable of doing. It's going to be far more than you ever expected when you started and walked through those doors of an academy, and look at yourself 10, 15, 20, 25 years later. See the woman that you're able to become now. That's going to be amazing. And you will continue to inspire others, just as Johnny mentioned.
Inspiration. And I hope everybody out there got some inspiration from this conversation that we had. It was pretty robust, and we had some fun and got some insight and got some knowledge. And hey, I thank everybody for coming on to the show. I really appreciate it. All right.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Stay right there, and stay
Thank
right there,
you.
and then I'll be right back. Wow. Well, that was a great conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys got some value out of this broadcast. I know I did. And hey, let me get some comments on here real quick before we get you out of here. Tedsfield was watching, so I appreciate you for coming on. Looks like Annie Mack, she said, yay, congratulations. I guess when Chief Ramirez won the game there. And you also had Jalea Wynn also said, officers, thank you for your service and your words of wisdom. Hey, I hope you had some fun here. This was a great time. Remember to like, share, and subscribe this to all the platforms. Everybody that didn't get a chance to watch this, you can watch this on the replay. Hey, this is what we need out here in law enforcement. Get to bring more people in to show that, hey, we are a profession that's always changing, and it's the 21st century, and 21st century policing needs conversation. So again, my name is Dale. Hope you had fun here. This is Black and Blue Live. Till next time. Talk to you later.
Is this